bow. Well done, do sit down. Really, really well played. Very, very stylistic, and you're year 8, and you've really got on top of this score to be playing any Beethoven trio at your age is brilliant, and you play it really well, and you're on top of the style in a lovely, lovely way. The articulation, for example, I could hear very, very clearly everything that was going on in the score all the time, which is wonderful. We need that in Beethoven especially. So that's already, 90% of what we need. So we'll just talk about a few things with the other 10%, if that's okay. Now, I think one of the problems I find as a pianist as well, sometimes with Beethoven, is that we have this image of this quite sort of serious guy, dare I say, sometimes quite sort of deep and we have this image of Beethoven being a bit bad-tempered sometimes as well, don't we? We forget sometimes that he can be as light-hearted and as kind of springy as Haydn, who wrote we associate more with kind of springy, bright kind of style. And sometimes Beethoven is a darker music, sometimes it's a little sadder, but sometimes there's this real kind of brightness, this real bubbliness, effervescence, something really kind of lifting. And I think this B-flat major trio is exactly that, and it all comes from that very, very opening melody in your right hand. You play that brilliantly, by the way. Just check my names here. Sahil, yeah. Again, you're very lucky. You're lucky to have each other. You all play extremely well. But you're lucky with your pianist because he gives such clarity to the texture, and that's a really, really good thing. So you set up the melody, but I think there's other ways we can look at how we can get this kind of springiness and how we can sort of bring the brightness of it, I guess, to life a little bit more. And Tristan, I've got a question for you actually. Where do you think is your first important moment in your? Because obviously you're playing from bar 1. Where do you think you really come to life as your first important moment in this trio? It's not. Don't worry. It's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. I'm just interested what you think.
I think it's in
Bar 8. Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. I kind of mind read you, and the reason why I think you've said that is I'll try and mind read you again. Is that because you got the melody now, haven't you? Yeah. Okay, fine. I'm joking about the mind reading. It's Fred. And of course you're absolutely right. But I'd like to suggest to you that your first important moment is bar 1. Okay? Because the trouble is, and I know this as a pianist as well with left hands, but the trouble is with cellists and trios as well, we sometimes look at what is effectively just a held, 2 held notes, isn't it? It's the harmony. But the point is, it's not just the harmony, it's the most important thing because it is the harmony. Yeah? In fact, you and our good friends as well, they're very much part of it. But you're kind of really kind of colouring the B-flat major here. And it's a lovely kind of warm key as well, isn't it, B-flat major? You're giving that warmth at the start. So I think there's a little bit of you, and that's why it's interesting you answer the question that way. There's a bit of you thinking, right, my first 8 bars, I'm not doing much because I've got these 2 tied dotted minims, and then yet another dotted minim, and then some dotted crotchets, and then finally that dodgy da da dee 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 da. You're the soloist, but actually we want to hear your lovely tone quality from the start. And I think one very practical thing we can do to hear your lovely tone quality, I'm not allowed to come right up there and adjust it for you because I'd be too close, but can you adjust yourself so that you're actually almost facing me? Can you swing your chair round? Is that alright? Can you try it now? Because I think it's going to make quite a bit. No, actually move your chair, move your stand. You'll still be able to see your colleagues. It's absolutely fine. But that's it. Even more. Yeah. So that imagine if you were doing a cello recital with cello and piano, you'd probably be sitting like that, wouldn't you? You can still see your pianist. They can still see you. Can see your violinists. They can still see you. But it just means, especially in this lovely acoustic, that we get to have the benefit of your full kind of tone quality. And I think also, if the 2 of you as well could, and that's why it's quite, it's obviously quite unusual to have the 1 and 9 doubled up, but I think that's a wonderful thing. Let's turn that into a real musical positive, because we've got both your musical personalities, both of your kind of the colour of your tone quality. So I think you can also think about the kind of how you can be a bit richer maybe and a bit warmer with this B-flat major at the start. Because nice and springy. But I think the strings at the beginning, you could do so much more, as I say, to colour and to warm up the B flat major. Yeah, because this is a warm piece. This is Beethoven in warm, friendly. You know, he does have this image of the scraggly hair, and he had a lot to put up with in his life as well, didn't he? I mean, he had a hard life, and he had this image of the slightly bad-tempered Beethoven. This is bright, warm Beethoven. Yeah, this is the other side to his personality. So let's have that beginning again, and have lots more strings and lots more warmth with your B flat major there at the start. Just the very opening one more time. But really do it, and again, if you can do more of it, because the more we kind of have the tone quality from the bass, from the bottom up, the more warm it will be. It just works like that with musical texture. Yeah, if we think bottom up, we get more warmth, and then that leads quite nicely into your dee da dum ba dee dum bum bum. Can you make a real character of that? Let's just check who I'm talking to here. We've got Ryuki and Joe. Yeah. Can you make that sort of really kind of characterful when you get to the dee da dum ba ba dum ba ba dum ba bum? Yeah. It's how would you describe that bit at bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Where you have the dee da dum. Is it the main tune, or is it? How would you describe it? It's a bit of a tune, isn't it? You know the bit I'm referring to, after your hairpin bar, where you've got the crescendo and the diminuendo, and then you've got the dee da dum ba ba dum bum. Do you know the bit I mean? Yeah? It's like a fragment of melody, isn't it? It's what we might call the counter melody. This is a kind of technical term for it. You don't need to worry about that so much. But the point is, the right-hand piano has still got the melody, but it's like an accompanying melody. But I was saying to a group a bit earlier on that when we have the accompanying melody, or what we might call the counter melody, us as ensemble players, sometimes we need to think of that as actually the most important thing. Because if it's accompanying something, it's the thing that's giving it character. Yeah, it's giving it life. So again, these are all, I know we're concentrating a lot at the beginning, but if you can nail the beginning, you know, you've got the whole thing, really. So all we're doing here is just bringing the B flat major to life a little bit more, bringing what I would argue is the springiness, the bubbliness of this piece to life a little bit more, to complement all the lovely stuff that we're getting with the right-hand melody. Yeah, so one more time the opening. I think you can strings, give us twice as much. Seriously, play it as if it's a violin solo, play it as if it's a cello concerto. Okay, you're sitting in the right place now to be a soloist. Yeah, really play those lines. In fact, it should be an actual rule, I think, for you. Every time you play piano trio, and I do hope you'll play lots of piano trios because you're brilliant as a group, cellists especially, but also your opening violins. Whenever, and it's the same with Haydn, it's the same with Mozart. Whenever you see on the page just kind of one note tied to another one note, turn it on its head. Don't think, oh, that's just one note tied to another note, therefore it must be a bit of an accompaniment. Better keep myself away. I'll just play it very, very lightly. Yeah? Imagine that it's this big, big solo line. And if you constantly turn that coin on its head and think of it in the opposite way, you'll then suddenly get a far more interesting texture. Because you're such sensitive musicians, you're not going to drown anyone out. And if you were to, you'd soon know, or your coach would tell you, yeah, and that's fine. You can adjust it back, but you've got to just I think really play out a little bit more to colour it. Okay, so one more time, the very opening. course, at that point, the reverse is, the roles reverse. The pianist, you can now you're now the accompanist. You're now doing the kind of decorative lines that help kind of colour it. So now I would say the same to you, like your right hand there with that kind of arpeggio figure. Don't just see it as an arpeggio. Just really enjoy that. Play it a bit more as if you as a solo line. Yeah. Now the bit we've just got to, which you play again very, very well as a trio. It's incredibly together. By the way, you mustn't forget that this is a chamber music day, and of course, a big thing about playing chamber music or small ensemble is that there's no one standing there conducting you. It's got to be together, and my goodness, you are a very together group, and that's brilliant. So I love this cadence point, as we call it. Yeah, when you get to this ending here, before we go to our second theme, second subject, as it's called. What's interesting though about the way he writes this each time, you've got this two big jump, 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 and then what happens on the score? What's interesting about this bit here? Suddenly goes to the piano, doesn't it? Do we know what we call that in musical terminology? It doesn't matter at all, by the way. These are just words. You don't have to worry about it. We call it subito piano. Something suddenly. Yeah. Now, there's another name for this kind of writing in composers like Beethoven and the classical composers, and it's called terrace dynamics. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Terrace dynamics? Don't worry at all. These are, as I say, just words. But the reason I mention that word is because it's a bit like when you have terraced houses. Yeah, one might be painted one colour, and then the next one is painted a completely different colour. They kind of shine out, don't they? And especially, actually, have you ever been to Cornwall? You have, yeah. You get those little coves of fishermen's cottages, and they're all joined up as a terrace. Yeah, and one might be kind of pastel blue, the next one's yellow, the next one's red, and all these kind of colours sort of like shine out. And that's why composers like Beethoven did terrace dynamics. It's meant to be something which is sort of very, very dramatic. This idea of having forte, forte, piano. And the thing that goes suddenly soft, what we call the subito piano, the suddenly soft bit, is the most dramatic of all when you have terrace dynamics, okay? But you need to really play the fortes right through to then make that piano really, really dramatic. That's the point. And it's meant to be sudden. Don't think I better just play the second forte down a bit to prepare for the piano. It's meant to be real in-your-face forte, and then it will sound incredibly dramatic. So can we just have that build up to the end there of that cadence? Why don't we go from the, can you count back actually from that bar we just got to? You know the bar I'm talking about, yeah? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars before it, where the violinist has the and you have your E and F. You know the bar I mean? So 6 bars before that the forte and then the piano. Can we just go from there? Yeah, that's the bar. So do you know where we are, Tristan? Yeah, and strings got it. It's the do da 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 da. Great. And really go for it. Yes, that's it. And it's that real kind of dramatic moment. But it can also, as well as sounding dramatic, it can sound quite humorous as well. We've got those big forte chords and then the piano. So really think about that when you get and try and remember that phrase terrace dynamics, not because I want you to remember a particular phrase, but because it's just such a good image. I mean, it is what they're called, but it's a really good image to have in your mind of things that are joined up like terraced houses in different kind of colours, pinging out at us. That's what terrace dynamics are all about. Good, well done. Now, what happens in these movements is we get to the double bar, and then we have what we call a development section, yeah, where the composer, it's the same with Beethoven, Haydn, Mozart, they take the themes and the tunes and the ideas that they've set out at the beginning, they take them in different directions. And the way in which they do that, especially with Beethoven, is to really play around with the kind of key changes. Yeah,
changes of harmony. But the thing is, Beethoven was one of these composers who there isn't a single bar or note in Beethoven that's kind of not needed, you know what I mean? He's very, very sparing. He just wrote absolutely what he wanted, and it's all quite compact. It's very, very, very structural, yeah? So in these development sections, you don't get very long to do these different things, and so the changes occur really quite quickly. And if you think about it, if you look at the second time bar onwards, you've got those 4 bars, then immediately a key change, but then immediately, sort of 8 bars later, there's another key change. Then it goes back into B flat major about 8 bars later than that. So this is more just me kind of planting a seed with you, okay? So it's something for you to do. You're very young to be playing this music, but I've already told you you played extremely well for your age. It's extremely impressive that you're taking it on. So I know you can think about this very intelligently, but I just want you to, when next time you practice together, look at, maybe start your practice from the second time bar, look at the middle section, and have a look at each other's part, look at what's going on, look at where these key changes are happening, and see if you can get different kind of colours. And again, you can use the same techniques that we've already been talking about. For example, bringing the cello line out more, thinking about the middle lines. If you think you've got an accompaniment, making that accompaniment the main event, and maybe bringing the tune down a bit. These are the kind of adjustments that we can make, yeah, to get more what we call harmonic colour. So try and think of these key changes as changes of colour, not just in kind of page telling us that we're suddenly into 1 sharp, then we're back into 2 flats. Yeah, that would be really, really good. And my final question for you, which I just want us to think about at the end really, because he brings back obviously the main 2 themes, and then, well actually, we'll think about it rather than trying to work out the bar numbers. Let's think about it the bit we literally just got to. You know where we were talking about that sudden piano after your da da bum 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 bum, yeah? Then we go into the piano dolce, yeah? This is what we call second subjects, the second main theme. And you've all got it. It starts with piano right hand, then it goes to cello, then you've got it, both of you. What do you think is different about this second theme? So we've already discussed the first theme and its kind of bubbliness and all of that. What's different about this? Well, it's marked P dolce. What's different about this? Is there a difference? I mean, it might not be that different. What do we think? Sweeter, yes, and of course that goes with our dolce word, doesn't it? Sweeter. With sweetness possibly comes, I think it's even warmer. It's kind of, and it's, and funny enough, I was talking to the first group today and I was asking their opinion about the style of their piece, very, very different piece. One of them said relaxed, and I quite like that idea as well. Music can we kind of pull back from it a little bit, be a bit more chilled out, quite literally, yeah? So we've got a lot going on at the beginning, haven't we? We've got the ba-da-bum, ba-da-dum-bum-bum. It is a bit like a spring that suddenly kind of, bounces off. Whereas this, the dee-da-da-dum, it's just really, you can imagine maybe someone walking down the street with their hands in their pocket, just whistling. It's quite a little bit more casual, isn't it? It's definitely more relaxed, I think. But it's beautiful. This is by Beethoven, so why wouldn't it be? It's beautiful, and as you say, it's sweet as well, and it's warm. So again, this is more just me suggesting you go away and think about it, okay? But see how you can get a real contrast for that section. Can we just go from there, actually? Just as the last thing we hear from you, because it'd be lovely to hear finish with some playing. So let's just play to the double bar. We won't do the actual repeat, but play to the double bar from that entry, so the piano entry, and then when you come in with your and then the next bar you've got it. You know what I mean? Yeah? After the big dynamic contrast bit we just did. And really think about how you can just sit back from it a little bit, make it a bit more calm and relaxed. Let's go from there. Well done. And then when it goes to that forte, about 5 bars before where you've just got to, that's Another example of the terrace dynamics I was just talking about, isn't it? Yeah, it suddenly bursts into that forte. And remember, it can work both ways. I was talking about the drama of doing something that suddenly goes soft, but also something that's suddenly loud can be equally dramatic, especially after that very, very relaxed, sweet bit that you've now got with your second subject. So again, that's something for you to think about as well. Okay, well done. Thank you very much for playing to me today. Really, really fine playing, and I look forward to hearing you again. Great.